Welcome one and all to Antiga Shipyard, and down here in the bottom left-hand corner of the map we have our now red Terran player from the Team SCV Life. It is Polt, and his opponent here in the upper right-hand corner, winner of game number 1 in pretty good fashion, especially coming back after losing his third Nexus over and over again. The slowest teenager in the world, it is Creator. The reason I say that is not because of any mental deficiency, of course it is because he is remarkably patient for his age. Normally you see young players, they get very overeager. I want to kill my opponent, I need to go. Creator exhibits remarkable patience at all times and has a great killer instinct, so he is absolutely well deserved of the title, one of the slowest players in the game.
And it was good to see. Just that style sort of progress as the game moved on. We had lots of observers out on the map. He was just getting complete map control. He's seeing exactly where his opponent's army is, just patiently waiting. And the one thing I do really want to commend Creator on is there was a period in the game where Polt went observer killing crazy.
Yes.
He just killed all of the observers, constantly using scans to drop them out of the sky, and no one could really blame Creator at that point for going, oh no, I have no map control. I knew where the army was last. Maybe I should go in for a bit of a timing now. He did not do that. He sat back, waited for the opportunity, and then caught Polt on the timing, on the counterattack rather. And that was just really good, just to rein himself in and resist the urge going across map maybe a little bit prematurely.
I've often speculated that Goody has been reincarnated, even while he's still alive, as a young Korean Protoss player, and that is Creator.
Goody plays Protoss.
Yeah?
Yes, I've casted quite a few, well, at least one Play Him Daily, where in order to avoid a TVT mirror matchup, he plays Protoss versus other Terrans. So this could conceivably be Goody's reincarnation in Korean form.
The reason I say that, though, is because Creator is the kind of player who will sit back, and there's not really the equivalent to mech for Protoss, but he'll sit back and he'll say, okay, well, I'm on 3 or 4 bases, I've got 3 upgrades, 200 supply, I guess it's about time to attack? I don't know. Sure, it's 25 minutes into the game. It's very Goody-esque, and that sort of strategy actually plays pretty well against what Polt does. Polt is a very aggressive player. He loves his multitasking. We saw in the last game, his first round of aggression was to drop into the main while killing the third at the same time. Multi-prongs attacks and harassment. But Creator is especially adept at being able to stop that. He always has zealots and stalkers ready to defend against drops at any given point in time. So I think Polt is really going to need to think on his feet and come up with a different approach here for game number 2.
I see exactly what you mean here. I mean, Creator even, just, some people call Goody the unharassable Terran.
Sure.
And for good reason. He's always prepared. He has turret rings around his base, keeping units around, just making sure,
of course,
that if his opponent does something unexpected, it wouldn't throw him off his game. And Creator was doing just that in the last game. Even the first drop that Polt did where he was doing a lot of damage, that was when there were a lot of zealots in the base as well. So Creator able just to hold that damage off until the rest of the army got home. And it's this kind of play that's really, really effective against the whole army-splitting multi-pronged harass style that we see from Polt. Because on the counterattack, when it's just my entire army versus your entire army, Polt split his army up so much that he doesn't have his full force to engage. And Polt needs to come up with a different strategy in game number 2 if he wants to try and claw one back.
Yeah, that's very true. And for now, though, it looks like he took a slightly different approach. This is Antiga. The walk distances are quite a bit shorter than they are on Daybreak. So he's going for a 1 racks gasless fast expand into 3 racks afterwards. Once again, I bring up Thorzane as an example as someone who will take a little bit different approach, usually go after another single racks after the initial barracks into an expand and decide to double gas after that for a little bit more flexibility. And I think Polt in this specific matchup could take a page from that just due to the fact that Creator has been playing that double forge style so effectively that he can largely match his opponent tech for tech. So we'll see what approach both these players take, though. Expansion just about to finish up now for Creator.
Yep, the first clue coming out, of course, here where we saw the 1 racks expand into 3 as opposed to the 4 racks that we saw in game number 1, of course, after a command center first. And he's now actually already gotten his first tech lab on the barracks as well. So a little bit more of a tech-heavy approach this game. And that possibly could be a signal that Polt is more willing to meet an army from Creator head-on in the mid-game rather than split up a little bit more, because a more teched-up army, of course, with more upgrades will just fare better. So perhaps he wants to try and get in there before Creator, for example, gets to Colossi.
Very possible. We do have Stim already coming up now, and we'll see the next couple of structures are going to be very telling, and it is. Okay, so it is a factory. Normally, you'd either see the factory right away, or you'd see the engineering bay and start to prioritize upgrades more than anything else and trying to hit with early bio attack. But he's actually getting his factory before any additional add-ons after the first one that started producing Stim. So he's going to be moving to Medivacs and looking to move into aggressive play pretty quickly on. Creator, on the other hand, did decide to get 3 gates before the Robo this time, which is also pretty telling. It means that he believes his opponent is going to be much more aggressive this go around, and he's going to need some earlier units out there to defend. He can actually delay that tech for a little while. This is pretty interesting, though. Twilight Council is actually hitting before any of his forges. Usually Creator, the kind of player to only get that when he needs 2-2 upgrades. So may have a little bit of trickery up our sleeves here in a second.
Exactly. I mean, last game by this point, of course, the 8-minute mark just hit. 1-1 was already 15, 20 seconds into production, and we don't even see the forge going down yet for Creator. So both players taking this very differently. Perhaps mind games coming into effect just a little bit as a scan goes down at the front, and it looks like Polt does see the Twilight Council go down, and Blink now being chrono boosted out of it from Creator. So we could be seeing a little bit of a Blink timing, but wait, no, never mind. The double forges, slightly late, but here they are again.
Well, he could certainly still use those harassment. Whenever a PvP comes up on this map, I always think, oh, great, it's going to be a super aggressive over-the-top PvP, and 99% of the time that's what it is. There's so much cliff line, especially with that observer overhead that's harassable by Blink Stalkers, that it's very easy for a small pack of units to jump in, pick off a couple of add-ons, jump back out again. So Creator may be heading down that path, but for now, he's actually got to deal with a very significant force of Marauders and Marines on the field. Our first couple of Medivacs are actually being added into the mix right now. So Polt has certainly gone a little bit more aggressive this time, and to be perfectly honest, even though there was an earlier investment into units, I don't know if Creator's going to have enough to deal with this.
It's going to be a little bit interesting. I mean, Polt actually did go out into the middle of the map, and you saw him pull back just a little bit. I wonder if that's because he saw a couple of the observers flying around, and he thought that he could not take his opponent by surprise with this small push. So perhaps he is waiting for combat shields and maybe +1 to complete as well. Combat shields, of course, only a couple of seconds away from completion now. If he had continued moving forward about a minute ago, it would not have been done. And we see +1 about halfway done with the first 2 Medivacs joining the army. So we could be seeing Medivacs 3 and 4 with a couple more upgrades before he hits at the front, just because he knows his opponent saw it coming. And force fields, of course, could be very useful here.
Absolutely. And Blink just finished up as well, and the observers were hanging overhead, even though one just got picked off there by Polt. The observers were hanging overhead, so Stalkers already moved in position to go ahead and deal with this attack that's eventually going to come. So, Creator has to watch out, though. Polt able to strike a couple of those units from the top. I always love when units fire over cliffs, because the bolts just suddenly, they're parallel and then drop straight down and move parallel again, but whatever.
Smart bullets, man. It's
no
the future.
kidding. It is. They're Protoss. I hope I have technology like that at some point, especially teleportation. I will be extremely disappointed if I'm on my deathbed and we haven't had teleportation yet. That's actually the one thing I'm looking forward to.
What about
honestly.
cloaking? Cloaking could be more fun.
Cloaking is cool, but here we go. The fight of bullets moving up and down cliffs here, as Polt does do a little bit of damage to Creator, but good Blink control, moves back and saves all of his Stalkers. Cloaking is cool, but teleportation, man, I don't know. I don't know if I could beat that. Maybe omnipotence. If we could have a way that I could actually have omnipotence by the time I died, that would be better, but that's maybe stretching, I think.
It's possible. It's just, for me, I can see myself... I can see teleportation going wrong when you're drunk. But cloaking, on the other hand, cloaking's just always fun. So that would be my personal justification. And actually, Polt could afford to engage a little bit more at the cliff here, because Creator will be able to blink back a bit, but at the end of the day, there are a decent number of Medivacs with this army here, and to compensate for all the shields lost on his Stalkers as he blinks them back, Polt might lose a couple of Marines, and then Creator would be forced to pull back into his base. So I think Polt could maybe put on just a little bit more pressure there as this scouting factory. Not really sure what the pilot of that building is thinking, but a little bit more gung-ho than he otherwise would have liked. Fortunately, not quite burning down just yet, so we'll live to scout another day.
Yes.
And looks like both players are just posturing at the moment. Creator desperately trying to get out of his base so he can take his third. And we do see a second starport go down for Polt now, anticipating those large numbers of Colossi that will be around later in the game.
Now, here's the one thing... it looks like the factory is on fire now. Here's the one thing Polt has done effectively by just having this army's presence out there, is that Creator really wants to take a third base at this stage. It's normally pre-13 minutes that he takes his third, especially going into this heavy double-forged 6-gate robo style that we're kind of seeing out of him right now that he likes to play in every game. So it's certainly upsetting him, I would imagine, to not have that base down yet. Polt, on the other hand, has successfully done just that. So we do have a couple of Zealots that are about to warp, and unfortunately they're going to run smack dab into a bunch of units and will get picked up on, but still a good idea. Oh! The Marauders, they're just out of view. Oh, no. And charge is done as well. So a couple of SCVs actually are going to go down here, but Polt has cleaned up the rock so he can start to put pressure on his opponent's third.
And a couple of SCVs getting picked off there. The Marauders now going to be popping in and completely cleaning that up. One thing I would like to say I'm a little bit surprised by Polt's play this game is that he hasn't loaded up any medevacs for a drop despite his army being in the middle of the map. So perhaps that's an indication that he is ready. And he knows that his opponent's playing a little bit of a different style where a head-on engagement could actually kill him, so he wants to keep his army together. But with that many medevacs out in the middle of the map, I do have to say it's a little bit surprising given the number of drops we saw in the previous game.
I actually think it's pretty smart, to be honest, as he picks off yet another observer, because he knows that Creator's always ready for drops. Perhaps a bit too ready for drops, as we saw Creator's unwillingness to take a third while he was prepping for those drops. So maybe he just wants the threat of that out on the field, and he's just going to mass up a giant 200 army and run at his opponent, which he's actually going to make his way in right now. So we'll see, as Polt sitting over the high ground with the Vikings. They are picking away the Colossi quite efficiently. A few Zealots are out already with 2 upgrades finish up, but Polt hitting at a pretty brilliant time when he is only down 1 upgrade total to his opponent. So he will be able to inflict some significant damage. As we can see, Creator is just being overrun at the moment.
Absolutely beautiful timing here from Polt, and actually more importantly I think beautiful army positioning, because the Vikings were able to get a couple of pots, and wow. Look at that, immediately eliciting the good